Okay. Hope you don't mind. I'm going to record this one.
No problem.
All right. You are the first person to come onto my website interview.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting it ball rolling, huh?
Yeah, we're going to try a little bit and see how it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Getting that information out there. That's excellent.
Yeah. It's interesting being retired now
Hmm.
and just sort of taking it a bit easier and controlling my own direction.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, and that also gives you kind of more, I guess, freedom, right? Like to just get out there and do what you want.
I think so. Being a principal for a long time is it's a hard job, these days. So now I can help other people a little bit, and it's more rewarding, I think.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like an exciting next chapter.
Yeah. So Sean, welcome to the Positive Learner.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Right. Tell us a little bit about your background, if you don't mind.
Sure. So I'm originally from just outside of Boston. I grew up in a suburb of Boston called Westboro.
Yep.
And since 2012, I've been living in Vietnam. My wife and I, we own an education company here right now. Primarily, we're teaching English, but we also do a bit of math and science. And we're really focused on DIY, hands-on, experiential learning. So we want to do more with math and science, but obviously right now it's just a lot of English learning. We've just expanded within the last year. We built a new building, and we're kind of unique. So we live and teach in the same building. So it's a three floor building.
Mm.
We've got 9 folks working with us now, a mixture of teachers and teaching assistants.
So I think the obvious question for me is why Vietnam?
Well, why do I stay in Vietnam or why did I come to Vietnam?
Why did you come and settle in Vietnam in the first place? What was the attraction?
So, I read this book called Vagabonding, excuse me. Um, and it kind of just lit a light bulb, and it was really the impetus to get me out there. I actually had previously in my life, in 2001, I backpacked Europe. So for 3 months, I was out there staying in hostels, riding the Eurail. And that just kind of gave me a taste of the world, really. It opened my mind and my eyes to the way that the rest of the world lives, and gave me really a lot of great memories and experiences and stories to share with my grandchildren. Really, is really kind of
Mm.
how I look at it, and I really loved that. So I had another chance to do that years later. I was actually kind of in between jobs, and I posted on Facebook, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, like, why don't you come and teach in Asia?" And I was deciding between South America or Asia,
Mm.
and he just like come out and teach at my school, and so I had never been anywhere in Asia in my life. My first city ever was Vinh, which is a small city in Vietnam. It's just about 600,000 people that live here. Yeah, I can remember just a lot of there's a lot of good memories, within my first year of being here. And it really is like living in Vietnam is like living on another planet compared to the States. It's so different. It
Yeah.
really is. Everything is different here. And that's what I like. I think that's why I asked you that clarifying question was because do I stay in Vietnam is because I like the adventure. I like not knowing what's around the corner. There's you never know what's going to happen. And in America, you can get in that rut of just sort of the typical 9 to 5, same day, different, thing. And I like that about living in Asia. So that's, I guess, answers both of those questions. Yeah.
Yeah. When I first traveled to Vietnam years ago, I fell in love with the old quarter in Hanoi. I thought, wow, this is a really nice
Mm,
place to be. And I put it in the back of my mind for a while. And several years later, I ended up with 2 years in Vietnam working on a contract. And then I thought, 2 years, maybe I go for a bit longer. And I ended up staying six, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah. Vietnam's a bit like that, isn't it? It draws you in and it captures you.
it does. And I think there's a lot of hidden beauty and hidden charm in Vietnam. A lot of people, I think, even myself included, we had starting these preconceived notions of coming to Vietnam and oh, the country's hot all the time and this and that and everything. But when you get here, it's not just the weather. You discover so much more, and there's really just a lot of hidden gems to be discovered, and it's
Yeah.
really an amazing place to live. There's a lot of exciting things happening. And I think this in general, the country is just moving at a breakneck pace right now. A lot of excitement, people working really hard. A lot of exciting things happening in this part of the world in 2025, almost 2026 now.
Yeah. You mentioned Vin, and Vin's what about and a half an hour's flight away from Hanoi down south,
Yeah.
a couple of hundred Ks away. You going through a lot of flooding at the moment or not? Because I know the central highland, central part of Vietnam is flooded.
Yeah, yeah. Luckily, we've avoided the flooding right now. I know it's hitting the worldwide news. I saw it on CNN this morning
Yep.
about the flooding. Luckily, we haven't been hit by that. I know that Hue got hit last week really hard.
Yep.
Um, and also Da Nang, two parts of Da Nang. I can remember walking through the old town, which is near Da Nang, right? You've got the old town,
Yep.
um, and that's a really popular place for tourists. It's a really amazing place to walk around with all the lanterns and so forth at night. And I just see these pictures and videos of the streets, people up to their knees, in water, sometimes even higher.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of the thing is too, what if you dig deeper and you go a little bit deeper into this flooding is that parts of Vietnam that have a lot of resources like schools, they get hit, and all the children's desks and anything that's in the school is just gone. I have a friend of mine. She wrote a book about Vietnam, The Mountains Sing, and her name is Hue Mai, and I follow her on social media. So she posted about, we're trying to get some funds together to help the schools in Vietnam with the thing. And yeah, I mean, it happens.
Yeah, I can remember about 5 years ago when I was in Hanoi, the area around Quang Binh got flooded quite badly. And Quang Binh is
Mm.
quite famous for caves. A lot of people visit the
Hmm.
caves, the limestone area. And where I was working, the management decided that they're going to go down and help some of the that were damaged by floods. So we went there for a trip. Sort of, you get there, then you get on a motorbike and you're sort of on trail bikes out through the mud and through the swampy areas, and then you see the devastation. And it wasn't uncommon to see flood levels or water levels on the buildings, up to a meter. And
Yeah,
and you just
yeah,
think, wow, what do these kids need? So
yeah,
we donated quite a bit of money for that cause as well. And, it's an ongoing process. As you say, it's every year.
yeah. And there was a guy, he was to develop a new construction of house, a design of a house that resistant to the flooding. And this is a number of years ago. I don't know where that project went, but that would be great because, like you said, it happens here. We know it's coming. It seems like it's
Mm,
getting worse and worse. I wish that there would be more forethought, because it's like it's gonna,
yeah,
even now. My wife told me this morning. She said there's another storm coming. Everyone in Ving's worried about it. It's worried that it's hit, Ving and yeah. I think there needs to be more preparation, perhaps with the construction of homes or I don't know, something. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't have any solutions, but it seems
yeah,
like we
yeah.
should think about it a little bit harder.
It's a hard one. I was in contact with two of my former teachers this morning because their houses have both been flooded in Cebu, Philippines. So they're
Oh,
going through that process now. And as you always care about your staff.
Yeah.
And even though I've left that particular job, I still, I'm still in touch, and I do that, people's lives are affected. And I think they said this morning on the news that this was the 26th typhoon in Philippines for this year. I mean, that's incredible.
Wow. What is that up and beyond what they normally get? Do we know?
They the statistics manage they say roughly between 15 and 20 on average, but this is 26 at the
Okay.
moment. But
Yeah.
it's not the frequency, it's also the intensity is increasing.
Yeah, that's the one. And yeah, it's I think people have to be aware of and need to prepare better for. I think maybe this year with all the the unusual thing, people will be better prepared in the
Yep.
future, because they'll
Yeah.
take it more seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean, I want to jump on that word unusual, because
Mm,
you are a little bit unusual in the sense that most foreigners, when they go to a foreign country and start teaching, they head to the capital cities. That's where
yeah,
they get the most work. But you're not that. You're in the regional area. And
right.
I'm just how that's shaped your teachings and where you're going from here.
Yeah, you definitely. I think living in a town, in Vietnam, you get a more realistic view of the country, more authentic. When you're in Ho Chi Minh City, Hanoi, you can get into the districts, and you kind of just you feel you'd never really left your own country,
Yeah.
um, because all you're seeing is just other foreigners and stuff. So here, in Ving, you get to make friends with the locals. I ran an English club for 9 years where we met for about 2 hours every week,
Hmm.
and we had all kinds of people come to our English club. We were featured on the news a couple of times, and you get to you really connect with the people here, and you
Yeah.
get to understand more, about life in Vietnam, in kind of a small, in Vietnam, and how has it affected my teaching. So the students here, they really have almost no opportunity to speak with foreigners in the big cities. I remember going to Ho Chi Minh City. I actually lived in Ho Chi Minh City for just a tiny bit, a few months. And there you could go to a park, and on the weekends there would be groups of Vietnamese people talking with foreigners in the park for free. And that's not something that's available here in Ving. The foreigners are really hard to find.
Yeah.
So it's actually on two sides of the coin. One is the students don't have foreigners to practice their English with. And on the other side of the coin is that the employers who are looking for foreign teachers have a really difficult time finding, teachers that they're looking for. So I think, with that being said, the students here, they are curious. Well, they're really, I wouldn't say passionate about learning, because a lot of students here, they have a lot of work to do. Okay,
Mm.
they're under a lot of pressure, and you have to kind of think about my teaching in the grand scheme of things, of this from eyes, and that I just see them for 90 minutes once a week, right? And I need to do the best that I can in those 90 minutes to get them engaged, to get them excited,
Yep.
to make they understand that English should be part of their life and not just a school subject that they're learning, which is difficult. So I think that it's to basically to answer your question, it's harder to teach. I think English in a small town where the students have a lot more challenges with getting access to for not only speaking with foreigners, but just English in general. It's like
Yep.
there's menus in English here. Like they never see English. It's like really almost never on TV. There's never sort of like an English piece of the puzzle that's in their brain, which they would probably get more of in the bigger cities.
Yeah. When you and I met a couple of years back, because I was in Vienna and we were looking for teachers for as well as
Yeah.
partnering down there, remember? And I think you're right. There was a lot of demand for English down there, but not a lot of foreigners that are willing to go down there as well. Because a lot of foreigners want that comfort zone. They want that capital city
Yeah.
structure. You know, they want the foreign foods, the foreign
Yep.
lifestyle things. And you don't get that in Wien. I know that. But
Yeah.
going one step further with resources, for example, how do you school cope with resources? Do you actually create your own resources, or do you books or using computer?
So we don't really use too much digital computers, that sort of thing, like
Mm,
apps and whatnot. Um, we, uh, for me, 90% of my teaching is um, materials that I make, and
yep,
I know that the materials will be more exciting and engaging. Generally, when I look at a textbook, I found the material to be unappealing to students.
yeah,
It's going to be boring for them, and
yeah,
I'm really worried about that because as a teacher, I have to wear many hats, and one of those is entertainer.
yep.
And to get them engaged in a lesson and hooked into it, you have to create stuff that they're interested in, and most
Mm,
of the time, the books are out of touch and out of date, and sometimes it's you get some that are okay, but so that's why I encourage the teachers that are working for us, if they are using textbooks in the lessons, and I always ask them to create other activities that piggyback what's in the book.
mm,
Yeah, the students, they aren't very digitally savvy. They're just like most have maybe one computer in the house, if a
mm,
computer, and it's shared amongst the family. Most
mm,
are using phones, right? That's
mm.
their only access to sort of any sort of digital learning. Um, and getting kids to make slides, Google Slides, or reply to an email, like any sort of that sort of digital stuff is like a big. There's a lot of students that just don't know how to do that.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I look forward to is your Zello posts. You know, I'm probably one of the few people that
Mm.
appreciate it, but you've gone the extra mile because, Zello is kind of like with social media, the Facebook or the WhatsApp, application in Vietnam. But when you make your posts, it's always the intriguing part. Oh, look, I've created this from AI. You're linking it
Mm.
to Halloween. I'm linking it to, a movie that scared you, for example. And I think I
Mm.
touched on something interesting there because those posts, they captivate a little bit, they get the attention, they draw you in. So I think one really good angle you've got going.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. I also try to create a community for my students. I use Discord, which
Mm,
is basically just a big chat room that all of my students have access to.
yep.
So they can chat with teachers, they can chat with each other. I put a mixture of things that are related to learning English and then just fun stuff in there.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, and the fact that you share also the kids' work, I think that's something which a lot of schools do, but you do it quite well. You're celebrating the kids' achievements. When you visited, for example, a student that was 10 years or 15 years ago that you were teaching, it's nice to touch base again with those kids. Because
Yeah,
unfortunately, a lot of teachers, they write them off and they go to the next student.
yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how many times I run into old students. Just the other day, I was eating lunch at a restaurant, and oh, do you remember me? Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, it's good to see you again. It's amazing. I think maybe it's partly because Ving is kind of a small town, and a lot of yeah. So yeah, it's so nice to see. It's really That's one of the really nice things about being a teacher is to see your kids, quote unquote, grow up,
Yeah.
and I went to America actually, and when I was in America, so my mom is retired in Florida, and we were able to connect with students. Not Some of them were there was like a group of like three or four, but they're from Ving, and one was my old student, and then a couple of others were just from Ving, but they were studying at a university
Mm.
in Florida, and we got to eat a snack with them in their campus, and it was so
Uh,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice to see. And just the other day, I saw a video. There's a former student of mine. She's in England, and she's studying there. And she made this social media video about something, and I was like, oh, I shared the video, and we talked a little bit online, and yeah, it's really because she said, oh, your English club made a big impact, on me, and that's great to hear. It's a mixture of that thing, and I really what the core of it is getting interested in English as part of their life, and getting interested in comics and
Yep.
video games and other things that they wouldn't necessarily think of. Like most students, they think of, okay, turn to page 22. We're going to learn about prepositions today. Well, the English doesn't have to be like that. That you are excited about, and then you weave in the English into that.
Yeah.
And so that's part of what I try to do is with my social media posts. I try to get the kids interested in, oh, you could use this thing this new comic, or this comic is about a Vietnamese teenager who becomes a superhero, like, and you'll have it relatable. That's what I mean by that,
Yeah,
relatable.
no, I look, I think that's really, really important as well because, we're not just there to have a once in a lifetime lesson with these kids. It's a lifetime journey,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
absolutely.
Yeah. Sean, take us through what one of your days looks like in the center.
Okay, sure. So, I don't really like to call ourselves a center, because there's a lot of English centers, and then like I would just like an education company, more so because English is part of what we do, but we're also trying to do more in other subjects as well, like math and science and things like that. So like I said, we this building that we live and teach in. We've been here for about a year. So my mornings are pretty. And then in the afternoons, I'll be doing my lesson planning, making sure that the slides are built, and I trying to actually migrate away from slides,
Mm, yeah.
uh, because you can, the teacher, you can kind of get in this trap. Just every lesson is built slides, and so I want to do more just like not necessarily standing in front of the classroom. I want to
Mm,
get closer to the students and do more so I'm doing my lesson planning. I'm about how to make lessons, and how to get the students to speak as much as possible, um, and so at about 5 or so, our house erupts in noise and laughter and
yeah.
playing. So we have this, we call it the playroom. And
Yep.
it's basically the waiting room where parents can hang out and wait for their children. And, we can, and students, of course, they wait before and after the lessons. And so we've got Legos down there. We've got Jenga blocks. We've got some sort of brain puzzle type things, books, lots in a mixture of English and Vietnamese. And we just encourage the students to play with each other and play like chess and so forth. And then our lessons start. And I teach usually about 2 or 3 hours every day, and usually 3 hours a day. I teach. Sometimes on the weekends, I'm teaching more. And actually, all the time on the weekends, I teach more. But so my lessons, I've got anywhere from 10 to 17 kids in our classroom. We've got a TV in there, and Wi-Fi, AC, all the necessary components that you need to be comfortable in the classroom. So I take, my students through whatever the lesson happens to be about. Maybe it's about Greek mythology, like Theseus and the Minotaur, or
Hmm.
Daedalus and Icarus.
Mm,
Or maybe it's about the eight wonders of the world. And I've got this amazing where I've got these
mm.
videos and animations and everything. And I take students through. I say, okay, now we're leaving Ving and we're going to the Great Wall of China, and then I got this video. And it's an amazing lesson. So I try to make what I'm doing hands-on. Like I've got this origami lesson where they're learning about sort of the history of origami. And I've got this clip from a movie, which is really, really good, Kubo and the Two Strings,
Mm.
where he folds paper and it magically comes alive. And then in the lesson, the students make origami and then they
Yep.
describe in English what they're doing. So essentially, what I'm doing is really trying to create memories and help the students be really engaged. So that's a typical day in teaching here in Vancouver.
Oh, that sounds great. So if I was to break down, let's say 1 hour lesson, for example, what percentage of that would be speaking as opposed to writing, for example?
Yeah, so all of my lessons are focused on speaking,
Yep.
and I would say a huge percentage of it is going to be getting the students to talk, whether that's in group work,
Yep.
asking them to come to the front of the class and speak about something. I'm doing a lot of mind maps,
Yep.
which help the students to speak about a topic, whether it's about their school or their daily routine for the younger learners, or for the older learners, it's about Halloween. And the mind maps, I tell them they can only have the important words, no sentences, and they have to get up there and talk for sometimes a minute, sometimes 2 minutes or longer for the older students. And I really try to think of ways to get them to talk as much as possible.
Mm.
Like when I was getting my teaching certificate, they said you need to talk 20% of the time and let the students talk 80% of the time. And I try.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to do. It really is. But that's kind of where I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get the students to talk as much as they can. And I really tell my students, I say, look, don't worry about making mistakes because a lot of students are nervous. They know the English, maybe they know the right vocabulary or grammar or whatever it is, but they're just shy and
Yep.
kind of scared, and maybe their friends will laugh at them. But I really try to create a welcoming atmosphere that they know it's okay to make a mistake, but you should learn, from that mistake, right? And hammer that idea in because in the classes they are in, at least in most of the 99% of the students that the classes they're in during the day, the lessons are about 45 minutes and it's just them sitting there
Mm.
listening to the teacher. There's almost never any class participation or students talking or time for answering questions. It's really, really different. When I get students in my class, especially new students, that is really kind of for them because they're used to just sitting there and listening. But
Yep.
mine is not, no, you're not going to sit there and listen. You're going to stand up and talk.
Yeah. Yeah. That's found also in Japan, working with students here is this in terms of talking. And a lot of them they're not in the talking aspect. And it's
Mm,
not because they don't want to try, it's because the Japanese society is based on perfection and they want to be perfect in grammar,
mm,
and if they don't get the grammar right, they won't speak. And
yeah,
I often say to them, forget the grammar. That comes later on. Just talk.
yeah,
Don't worry about
yep,
mistakes, because
yeah.
my atrocious, my Thai was bad, my Chinese was bad, my Japanese was even worse. So, but it stopped me from trying,
Sure,
and that's something that I
that's
think a
right.
lot of our kids have to learn is just try.
That's right. Just open your mouth, start talking, get it out there. It's okay. Maybe your classmates will laugh at you, but laugh along with them. Don't, like it's okay. And luckily, I think a difference between Japan and Vietnam is that, the students are a little bit more relaxed here. They're
Mm,
still really kind of nervous about making mistakes and things like
mm,
that.
mm,
But
mm, 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 mm.
yeah, it's a bit more relaxed. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Sean, I'm only on a 40-minute slot at the moment because I'm not for Zoom.
Okay.
Not yet.
Sure.
We're still in that
Yeah.
learning Netflix. Um,
Sure.
what I'd like to do, if you don't mind, is get you back on in say another 3 to 4 weeks, and maybe you could sort of share your screen or even look at a class in actual situation. Because what I want to do is reach out to educators that want to come and work here overseas. I want to the experience that, Advance your mind, think a bit differently, change perspective, and go and try a new challenge by going and working overseas. And I think that you're a trailblazer. And I think there's a lot of people that work overseas, they really, there's a growing experience, the whole spiritual dimension, by going and having a new life challenging, experience. And my goal is to get more people to do that. So it'd be great if we
Yeah,
could
that sounds
potentially,
great.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, come on again. I love talking about this stuff. I love introducing people to what it's like to teach, English in another country. It's really exciting, and I think the way if you approach it in that it's not just about the routine or that kind of stuff. If you approach it in an interesting, creative, and problem solving sort of way, it can be really exciting really quick for you, by creating materials, and finding ways to get students to speak and getting over that hump of that shyness, and really forming a bond and a relationship with your students.
yep,
That's key. I think a lot of students, when they go through an educational system, whether it's in America, England, or wherever, the teacher is kind of distant. And I think with my teaching, at least, I try to become with my students, try to get them to open up, try to learn more about them. And I think that's one thing a lot of like new teachers kind of forget, is because they're so worried about getting students to pass the test or get a high score or finish the homework or whatever it is. But you need to talk to them like people,
yep,
and you need to really, and I, the secret, when the teacher is enjoying themselves, when they're having fun, the students are going to enjoy themselves and have fun too.
That's what I find, true is that a lot of teachers have said to me in the past, oh, that was such a tiring lesson. I feel that I'm thinking you're doing something wrong because those
Mm,
lessons should be energizing you,
yeah,
and you come out of there on a
yeah.
high. When you come out on a high, you realize, wow, I've done something amazing. And a lot of teachers have got it wrong.
Mm,
It
yeah.
did.
Well,
Keep going.
yeah. Well, they kind of copy, or they go off of what they've seen from their teachers, in the past. I think everyone has that one or two teachers that they've had in their educational career that you're like, wow, I remember this person, even though I'm 30, 40 years old
Yeah.
now. And you would be like that
Yeah.
teacher. It's not going to be every day. It's not going to be every lesson, but I think you can take some pages from their book and reach and touch the students in a way that is, okay, you didn't get your homework done. It's okay. I understand. Right.
Yep.
Like, I know you're under a lot of pressure. Try to put yourself in their shoes, and really have fun, get them to laugh, and try to and what life like through their
Yep.
eyes too, and
Yep.
that can help you as a teacher too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, look, I agree with you. And I think we're on the same wavelength. Which is about we want the best for the kids. That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Sean, thanks a lot, mate. I really enjoyed chatting. It's only a short one, but it's the first time, and you are the
Yeah.
first person on the website.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, it's super exciting. Yeah, it's super exciting to be here. And, I think for anyone that is considering, teaching abroad, definitely do it. Do it while you're young, do it while you don't have that many commitments. Now I'm married, I've got two kids here. But I think when I was, first coming to Vietnam, I any strings really keeping me in America. So I think that was an advantage. And I think if anyone else is in the same situation or similar situation, just go, just there, buy the ticket. The ticket is the most expensive part, but once you're out of where that country is, you know, um, I saw a Facebook post about somebody who was trying to do this right, and my advice: get out of your phone, put your phone away, sit in the middle of the city, observe what's going on around you,
Yep.
strike up a conversation with somebody, even if they don't speak the language. Do your best to communicate with that person, make friends, make as quick as you can, and they are going to show you some amazing things that you just don't get as a tourist who's visiting the country. for a week or two. When you get to immerse yourself in the culture and the people and so on, it's that I think is much. That's going to be a lifelong memory that you're going to want to tell your grandkids.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. You got to go there and reinvent yourself, basically. Just leave a lot of baggage behind. Go there and observe and make judgments, basically, and be part of the that's there. Yeah.
Yep. Don't be to try new and take risks, and you're going to be amazed at how you're really good at solving new and crazy problems that happen.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah. No worries. Alrighty. Sean, thanks very much. It's been enjoyable. We'll be back again
absolutely.
in a
Thank
few
you.
weeks.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'll share this with you when
Yeah. Please send me all the links for sure.
we
And I have a website too. If anyone wants to check it out, it's seanlawrence.com, SEAN, and then Lawrence with a U. And I put my stuff up there. So yeah, I'd love to be back. I'd love to talk more about this stuff. I made a bunch of notes that we can get a chance to talk to. But yeah, love talking about this stuff. And thank you
No
so much for
worries.
having
And
me.
I'll send out my link so we can link up and we can start to sort of promote things together.
Yeah, sounds great.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Have a nice day ahead. Cheers. Bye bye.
Yeah, same to you. Take care.